Well, hello, friends, and welcome to the Imago Nutrition Podcast, where we answer your questions and give you practical nutrition strategies to help you reach your goals and your family to flourish. My name is Mark. I am flying solo today with a terrific topic. Speaking of practical nutrition strategies, we're going to get very practical today. And so excited to dive into it today with you. If all goes as planned, this episode is dropping on October 31st. And I don't know when the unofficial or the official start of, quote, the holidays in America begins. It seems like every year we start talking about the holidays earlier and earlier. I don't know if it's when the weather changes, if it's September, if it's October, if it's Halloween, if it's November 1st. Not exactly sure, but suffice it to say, if this episode drops on October 31st, it will be Halloween of 2022. And by all accounts, at that point, we are into what is known as, the holidays. And so, look, I've often joked, I poke fun at the holidays because I say it's that curious time of year when Americans turn 3 or 4 meals into 8 to 12 weeks of overconsumption, right? Like when we're talking about the holidays, folks come up to me and say, well, what about nutrition for the holidays? Which we're going to talk about today. So I don't want to poke too much fun at it because we are going to get serious about it. But people are like, what do I do about the holidays? And I say, what do you mean? They're like, well, the holidays. Exactly. What are you talking about? Well, the food. What are you talking about? Well, Thanksgiving. Okay. That's a meal. And Christmas. Oh, and Christmas Eve. Oh, that's 2 meals. New Year's. Oh, that's a 4th meal. Well, Mark, you're simplifying it. There's just food everywhere all the time. And look, I do get that. However, let's talk about being practical through this time known as the holidays. And so we have a great question today. And so the question is, what are some nutrition tips for the holidays? Now, if you have a question, you can submit your question to us. We will consider it for a future episode of the podcast. Head over to Imago Nutrition. That's IMAGO nutrition.com/podcast. And you scroll down that page a little bit, you will see a form where you can submit a question for consideration as a topic for an episode. And so, all that said, let's take a look at today's question. What are some nutrition tips for the holidays? Now, let me start by saying I love the holidays. Okay, so I poke fun at it, yes, but you gotta love the holidays, myself included. I love the weather change. I love going from summer to fall. I love Halloween. I love Thanksgiving. I love Christmas. I love Christmas Eve. I love the day after Christmas. I love New Year's Eve. I love New Year's Day. I love it all. I love all the food. I love the community. I love the decorations. I really do love it all. Okay. And so all that said, we're going to take a look at some nutrition tips for this glorious time of year. Okay. And I really want to set the backdrop with the first tip. Okay. So what are some nutrition tips for the holidays as we head into that season? And by the way, I had a call today with a client and we were working through concepts and strategies and goals and focuses for an upcoming vacation. And it's interesting to note that basically all these tips that we're going to go through today also apply to things like vacation. Okay. So it's those seasons in life where perhaps you're going outside of the norm. There's more compounding factors around you in general. And so what are some nutrition tips that you can lean back on? And you don't have to implement all of these. I think I've got 16 today, if you can believe that. Kind of a weird number, but lucky 16, sweet 16, we'll call it. I've got 16 tips to think of as we head into the holidays. And again, you can use these for vacations as well. Okay. And so the first one is this, and I talked about this with my client today too. The first one for the nutrition tip for the holidays or for a vacation, but let's call it the holidays, is to set a goal. Now, for some people that sounds overbearing. Oh, I don't need a goal, right? But there's 3 general goals, I would say, general, as it relates to body transformation, body composition, health goals. One would be to say, I want to continue making progress through the holidays. Okay, so that's your first goal. Now, if that's your goal, I want you to state it. I want you to put a plan together, and I want you to execute that plan. State it. My goal is these holidays, this year, I'm going to make progress through the holidays on my goals. And we'll talk about some strategies that'll help you do that. The second goal could be, I just want to maintain my progress. Okay, that is a very real and healthy goal, which is to say, I've been working hard all year, coming into the holidays. I just want to maintain. Okay, so maybe you're at a place in your body composition where you've been making progress most of the year. You've been on a healthy, long-term health journey, and you just want to maintain the results that you've currently achieved. That's another goal. What I want you to do is I want you to state it. I want you to create a plan, and I want you to execute that plan. Now, the third goal could be, I'm going to allow myself to regress, right? To go back a bit on my progress. Okay. And a lot of people are going to debate whether or not that's a healthy goal. But that could be your goal. Your goal could be, I've made a ton of progress this year. I'm okay regressing a little bit. Okay. Through the holiday seasons for the sake of, emotional, psychological, spiritual, food relation, just a lot of different things. Okay. But I want you to state that. I want you to make a plan for it, if you can believe that. And I want you to execute that. And so I think the first practical tip is to have a goal in mind. Actually say it. Because what happens a lot of times is people are like, oh, these holidays are going to be different. And then they just go through the holidays and it ends up being the same as last year. But if you want it to be different, if you want to make progress through the holidays, or you want to maintain your progress through the holidays, you've got to have a plan. You've got to execute that plan. Okay. And if you're okay regressing, that's okay too. That's up to you. That's between you. And your goals. And so the first goal the first tip I would say is to set a goal. And when you set a goal, things happen psychologically in you, and you start to view things through the lens of that goal. And so you can absolutely continue to make progress without restriction, by the way, through the holidays. You can absolutely maintain progress. And if for some people, the healthiest thing you could do for long-term success is to allow regression through the holidays, that's okay too. Okay. So the first tip I've got for you, nutrition tip for the holidays, is set a goal. All right. Whether that's to make progress, maintain progress, or to regress. The second of 16, right, is don't restrict yourself, as I said. So research has shown that restriction leads to overconsumption. Okay, whether that's too much restriction of calories in general or certain types of foods. So a lot of times people go into the holidays and be like, I'm not going to have any treats. Well, okay, good luck. That's not my prerogative. I'm going to have some treats these holidays. But a lot of people are like, all right, if I'm going to make progress, I can have no treats this holiday season. Well, that over restriction is likely going to lead to overconsumption, not toward healthy, sustainable, long-term progress that involves moderation of the foods that you love. Okay. So purpose ahead of time to allow yourself treats and foods that you enjoy in moderation in accordance with your goals. Okay. And remember that no single food or drink will make or break your progress. There's not one food you have to eat or you can't eat in order to make progress on your goals. And so the second tip is don't restrict yourself. Okay. The third one I would say is don't skip meals. Okay. This whole idea of, quote, saving up calories also can lead to overconsumption, because by the time you do get to that party, you woke up, you had a meager breakfast, you skipped lunch, you had some coffee because you got a party that night. And so you go to that party, you have a drink or two, you're having a good time with friends, which is totally normal. And lo and behold, you overconsume. And so I would say don't skip meals. Don't fall for that save up calories concept. Okay. Hunger signals can intensify in the body as the body seeks to make up for that perceived deficit of nutrients or calories in general. Okay. So again, number 3, don't skip meals. Number 4, drink plenty of water. Okay. Drinking an optimal amount of water, 91 ounces if you're a female adult, 125 ounces if you're a male adult throughout the day helps keep your appetite in check, right? And I would also say drinking a tall glass of water right before a meal really helps you feel more satiated with that meal and less likely to overconsume. Okay. So stay hydrated, wake up, try to hit that goal every day, even through the holidays. That might be one of the simplest things you can do for your health through the holidays, is to purpose that every day I'm going to hit my water goal. And again, if you're an adult female, that's generally 91 ounces. And if you're a male, that's generally 125 ounces, which is basically a gallon. Okay. So try that one on for size. Number 4, drink plenty of water. Number 5, very simple. I mentioned it earlier in a negative sense, but there's a positive sense to drinking coffee, right? Coffee is one of the ways that you can increase metabolism with nutrition, and it has also been shown to reduce appetite and cravings. Now, I don't want people to rely on it. Fun fact, coffee doesn't give you energy. It just suppresses your body signaling that it's tired, okay? And so very few calories in coffee, obviously, in a black cup of coffee. Therefore, it's not providing you, quote, energy, because calories are energy. But what it is doing is, again, suppressing those signals. So suffice it to say, you can increase metabolism. We've seen that in research with coffee, and it can also reduce some of those cravings. And so I'm a coffee drinker, 2 cups a day sort of guy. And so drinking coffee, even during a stretch like the holidays, can be beneficial and helpful, but again, always in accordance with your goals. And if you don't like coffee, it does not mean you have to drink coffee by any means, okay? So number 5, try drinking coffee, okay? Number 6, focus on protein, okay? I talk about protein a lot. There's, I believe, not enough emphasis on proper protein intake these days, along with a lot of things in American culture, but consuming an optimal amount of protein is another way to not only increase metabolism, because protein has the highest, what's known as TEF, thermic effect of food. Okay, so your body burns more calories digesting protein than it does carbs or fats. Okay, so that is one way. Optimizing your protein is one way that you can increase. It's another way in conjunction with coffee to increase metabolism with nutrition. And by the way, it's also highly satiating. So you get increased caloric burn, increased thermic effect of food, but you're also satisfied earlier and longer when you optimize protein. If you're curious how much protein you should have, you can dig back through some of our podcast episodes. I've dedicated some episodes to how much protein you should have in a day. So take a look at that. So number 6, focus on protein when you can. Okay. Number 7, focus on fiber. Fiber is super important. It's overlooked, I would say, by and large. In fact, statistically, I think it's 95% of Americans do not hit what's known as the RDA, or the recommended dietary allowance for fiber, for their sex and age group. And so, again, I've done a prior episode on how much fiber should you have in a day. So if you're curious what that is, dig back through the episodes, take a look at that. But suffice it to say, fiber is super important. And so similar to protein, fiber has a satiating effect. Okay. So it can help you feel satisfied for longer, along with a host of other benefits, which again, I've gone to in a previous episode, tons of health benefits from fiber. And one of just the very practical benefits is that it helps you keep full. So a lot of times when people are optimizing, even if they're in a weight loss journey and they're optimizing their protein and they're optimizing their fiber, they are fuller on fewer calories than they were before, which is amazing, right? So you get a guy that was consuming 3,500 calories and I put him on 2,800 calories and he's like, man, I'm super full on 28. Like I never was on 35. That's because I've optimized your protein and your fiber. Okay. And same for females. So number 7, focus on fiber. Number 8, eat a healthy breakfast. Is it true that breakfast is the most important meal of the day? Sort of, yeah. I mean, based off circadian rhythm, your body is ready to absorb nutrients at a different level first thing in the morning, again, in accordance with your circadian rhythm. But I have personally found, and I think it bears out in some research, that eating a proper, healthy breakfast, high in protein, high in fiber. Ooh, I just thought of something. We have a resource on this. I hope I remember to say that after my little bit here. So eating a proper, healthy breakfast helps set the tone for the rest of the day. That's been my experience. Maybe you've experienced that as well. Okay. And so for the reasons listed above, focusing on protein, focusing on fiber, focusing on a high protein, high fiber breakfast will help you feel less hungry. It's not going to necessarily jumpstart your metabolism like diet culture would tell you. Like suddenly, your metabolism was off in the middle of the night and suddenly you jumpstarted it, like you shocked it back into working. It's always working. But it does, again, with that increased protein, that will crank up your metabolism naturally through that. And so, again, I just put this together. We have a great resource on our website. So if you go to imagonutrition.com, imagonutrition.com/free, imagonutrition.com/free, one of the resources there, you can just punch in your email. We'll automatically send it to you. Ooh, I just tapped the mic with my hand because I'm talking with my hands. If you're watching on YouTube, you know that. And I keep scratching my nose. Like my nose is so itchy today. So, must be the fall season. Okay. So all that said, we have a great resource called Healthy Breakfast Ideas. So download that free resource. And what you'll see is that all those options that we give you of just ideas, not the only thing you can eat for breakfast, of course, but those options that we put into that document, Danielle and I worked on that document together. So some of my favorite ones are in there. Some of her favorite ones are in there. But all of them are either high protein, high fiber, or both high protein and high fiber. Okay. So that's just a really great way to start out your day. It could be that your goal this holiday season is to focus on just a really good high protein, high fiber breakfast every day and see how that naturally changes some of your habits throughout the days, the weeks, and the months that are the holidays. Okay. So number 8, eat a healthy breakfast. All right. Number 9, try this one. Try eating at home before you go out. Okay. Now I know that might sound like a bit of a bummer, but this is a tactic I use quite a bit, whether I'm trying to save money by not having going to a restaurant and not needing to eat a lot, or if I'm just trying to make sure that I'm staying on track with my goals. I can eat and control my ingredients a lot more at home than if I'm at a party or if I'm at a restaurant. And so if you're headed to that holiday party or you're headed to a restaurant, try eating before you go. Now, you don't have to completely fill up and just go there and be a party bummer like, oh, I'm not eating because I already ate because I'm on a nutrition plan. Don't be that guy or gal, right? However, just having that meal or that snack ahead of time can reduce the urge to overconsume in that social setting, all right? And so an example that I use is I like to eat like a small, I've done this several times, even fairly recently. I eat like a small plate, like one of those like 8-inch plates or whatnot. And I'll just fill that plate up with like a fruit and a veggie. It's like a half and half plate. I call it my fruit and veggie plate. So like half of it will be like baby carrots, which I love. The other half will be like strawberries or blueberries or whatever fruit of choice that we have. And so I get that, just that full, voluminous, nutrient dense sensation before I go. And that doesn't mean I don't eat when I go out. It just means that I'm not as hungry when I go out. And it just sets a different context to my food choices. Again, whether that's at a restaurant or at a holiday party or something like that. So number 9, think about it. Think about eating before you go out. Again, it doesn't have to be a full meal. It just could be a plate of fruit and veggies, right? It's just an easy way to do it. Or just a piece of fruit even. I mean, just having an apple before you go could change things, okay? And speaking of which, number 10, eat fruits, veggies, and lean meat, seafood, and dairy whenever possible, okay? These are some of what we call the 4 pillars of nutrition. So again, these are high volume, nutrient dense foods like fruits, veggies, lean meat, seafood, dairy. And if you're wondering what those 4 pillars are, it's a little bit different order. Maybe I should have done that correctly to start. But we teach a system or a framework known as the 4 pillars of nutrition. We're going to do a lot more on this in the future, so be on the lookout for that. So 1, lean meat, seafood, and dairy. Number 2, fruits and veggies. Number 3, whole grains. Number 4, nuts and seeds. Okay. So if you find yourself at a social gathering, you find yourself at a restaurant, you find yourself somewhere where you do not control the ingredients, what you can still control is your decision about the ingredients presented. And so what you can constantly be looking for, if you want to, in accordance with your goals, is where's a lean meat, seafood, or dairy option? Where are the fruits and the veggies? Where are the whole grains? Okay. Do they have buns on the table? Do they have a whole wheat bun and a white bun? Guess which one you can go to if you want to. You could go to the whole grain. And then nuts and seeds. Okay. Now, does this mean you can't have a slice of cheesecake? No, of course not. Of course you can have desserts. Of course you can have. We are the anti-diet podcast, right? Or one of them. Hopefully there's more coming on in the future. You do not need to be on this restrictive diet. However, preferring those 4 pillars, lean meat, seafood, and dairy, fruits and veggies, whole grains, nuts and seeds, more often will lead to more optimal health outcomes. It will lead to your body performing better and keep you in accordance with your goals more often than not. Okay. And we do have another resource if you're curious, okay, what sort of foods are in those categories? We do have another resource on that free section. So imagonutrition.com/free. You can check out our starter grocery list. That has a terrific list of foods that fulfill those 4 pillars. Okay. So number 10 tip for the holidays, eat fruits, veggies, lean protein, seafood, and dairy whenever possible. Okay. Number 11, eat mindfully. Okay. Now this is a big topic. And I think we've touched on it several times in the podcast. At some point we'll do more on this topic because it's really a cool, fascinating topic, but there are several practical ways to eat, quote, mindfully. I know it's a bit of a buzz term. Okay. But some of these techniques include, let's just take one meal, for example. Okay, just walk through a meal and talk about some techniques that are more mindful. Number 1, sitting down, starting with a glass of water. I love that. Just drink a full glass of water, go back and refill it, and then have that glass ready for the rest of the meal. Again, that starts to set a different tone for your hunger signals, starts to fill you up, satiate you. And by the way, water also helps with nutrient transportation, absorption, and There's just a billion reasons to drink more water. But very practically, it's one way to eat more mindfully, which is slug down, a nice tall glass of water right before you eat. Next thing, pick up your utensil, take one bite of food, and then put the utensil down. Okay? So put the utensil down. And then what you do is you sit there and you just chew that bite of food very thoroughly. And this is one of those times where I think it actually leads to an increased appreciation for food. This is not dieting, which causes you to be scared or fearful or decrease your affection for food. This increases your affection for food. Just spend time with that one bite. Okay, slow it down, chew it thoroughly, swallow it mindfully, and then take a drink of water. Then pick up your utensil and do it again. Take a nice bite, put the utensil down, and just chew very slowly, very mindfully. Pay attention to the people around you, the conversation you're engaged in, the texture of the food, the temperature of the food, the taste within the food, just all the different beauties that come with a bite of food. And so eating mindfully, taking at least 20 minutes to eat a meal. A lot of times we'll eat it in 5, 7, 9 minutes and be like, oh, I'm still hungry. Yeah, because your body hasn't caught up to the fact that it's satisfied yet. So we're going back and getting seconds within 20 minutes when we should have spent 20 minutes eating that entire plate of food. So spend 20 minutes at least consuming that. Now, am I against going back for seconds? No. However, if you extend that meal and you're wavering, you're thinking, do I go back for seconds or do I not? I would say drink a glass of water or finish the water that you have and then wait 20 minutes before you go back for seconds. Am I against you having seconds? Again, no. But chances are, if you eat a meal slowly, drinking water between every bite, take 20 minutes to eat it, and then perhaps wait 20 minutes before seconds, what it does is it gives your body a chance to signal that maybe you're not full, because we don't need to eat till we're full. We need to eat till we're satisfied, or till we're no longer hungry is another way to say it. So you don't need to eat to be full. We do that often in America, and it's not working out. 70% of us are overweight or obese. However, what we do need to do is eat until we're no longer hungry, or eat until we are satisfied. But there's a psychological component where our body needs to signal, and that process needs to have time to unfold. So all that's to say, slow down, take your time, drink water, and shoot. Last but not least, even after that 40 minutes, if you're like, I did eat enough, but man, I'm still hungry, go for a walk. Go for a 10, 20-minute walk. That's a game changer a lot of times for some of my clients, myself included. When I'm looking at that next piece of cheesecake, I've already had my dessert, I'll just go for a walk. I'll change my environment. I'll spend more time allowing my body to absorb and be satisfied with the food that I've already given it. Okay. So number 11, eat mindfully. Number 12, spent a little time on that one. That's a fun one. And I touched on it a little bit already. Number 12, eat until you're no longer hungry. Okay. So that I believe is like a Jedi mind trick when it comes to nutrition, right? And so learning to understand, appreciate, and acknowledge after eating or while you're eating the difference between being full and being no longer hungry is huge. It's huge. And I would challenge you, just try to think about that with your next meal. Just try to get into it. And it takes time to learn this, and it's not always perfect, and there's no exact system for doing it. But just being aware, being mindful, and being conscious of the fact that I'm just going to eat until I'm no longer hungry, or I'm satisfied, right? In accordance with your goals, of course. Not necessarily until I'm full, okay? And so that's another mindful eating trick that, again, it's not a trick, it's a technique that I referenced in number 11. But in and of itself, eating until you're no longer hungry, not until you're full, is a very powerful way to manage your consumption, okay? So number 12, eat until you're no longer hungry. Number 13, we're almost there, folks. We're going to get there. All right. Number 13, use portion control. Okay, another way to reduce overconsumption during the holidays without restricting the foods we enjoy is to simply control the portion. Okay, one of the easiest ways to do it is to use one of those smaller plates that I talked about, the 8 to 9 inch. Now, I know some people are thinking, well, shoot, I'll just take an 8-inch plate and I'll stack that thing 5 inches high. Yeah, and you can do that, and your results might continue to be the same. However, if you're in accordance with your goals, use a smaller plate for meals, load up that plate with anything you'd like, but commit to just eating one of those plates. Okay, see what that was? So load up that plate with whatever you want, the smaller plate. And we were just at a party last night and had 2 paper plates. I think one was, I didn't measure it. I'm making these numbers up, but I'm assuming they're directionally correct. One is like 12 inches wide, right? The other one's like 8 or 9 inches wide. It's the smaller plate. I went for the smaller plate, filled it up with whatever I wanted. Brownies, by the way, pasta. What else did I have? I did have some apples. Because there was a caramel apple like station, diced apples. I didn't have the caramel, though I could have. I think I had some grapes, had a couple other things, but I put it on one of those small 8 or 9 inch plates. Okay. And I just had that. Right. And so again, just loading up that one plate and then committing to, I'm just going to have this plate and then I'm going to have a dessert. Okay. Again, I had a brownie, right? So number 13, use portion control. But number 14, keying off that, is there's a 3-bite rule, quote unquote, for desserts. Now, do I like rules necessarily? No. But when people are looking for, Mark, just give me a practical, something I can sink my teeth into, no pun intended, when it comes to desserts. This is just a general rule that's kind of out there in nutrition culture. And again, if you know your numbers, by the way, if you know your calories, you know your protein, you know your fiber, and you're crushing it, and it includes 8 bites of dessert, go for 8 bites, for crying out loud. However, if you're like, well, I'm not tracking, I'm not worried about that, Mark, I just want to have some smart kind of intuitive techniques, use a 3-bite rule, right? So get a dessert. Again, I got a basically a brownie cube, right? And yeah, I was able to finish that thing in 3 bites, and that was my dessert, and it was great. And then I waited and I talked with friends, and my body said it was satisfied. I had my sweet at the end of that. It was great. Okay. So think about that. Number 14, use the 3-bite rule for desserts. So if you get a little bowl of ice cream or something like that, you get a cheesecake, think about that 3-bite rule for desserts. Again, don't be beholden to that. Again, if you know your calories and your protein and your fiber and you're tracking all that stuff, there's more freedom even than that. But if you're just looking for sort of, I just need an on-the-go, on-the-fly parameter or a guardrail, a gentle guardrail to keep me inside of my goals, think about possibly using the 3-bite rule. Okay, we're almost there. All right, number 15, just 2 more. 15, be mindful of your alcohol consumption. Okay, so it's no secret. I enjoy a good cocktail. I enjoy alcohol. I enjoy whiskey in moderation. Okay. And it can absolutely be a part of the holidays. I would just encourage you to be mindful that alcohol brings calories with no nutrient value. Okay. You just have to, again, state that, be okay with that, have a plan for it, and implement it. All right. So yes, an additional drink or 2 can absolutely be the difference between making progress and regressing. Okay. Again, a good cocktail. Again, I love cocktails. The more ingredients, the more calories. You can be up there 300, 400, 500 calories per cocktail. And yes, that can absolutely equate to tipping the energy balance scale from progress to regress. Nothing to be afraid of. Just need to be aware of that. You need to be okay with it, but be mindful of your alcohol consumption. Again, just a gram of alcohol has 7 calories in the raw, let alone the other ingredients that are in alcoholic beverages. So I was talking about this with my client today ahead of her vacation. And so one of the things that she's going to do, and we talked about, was just researching her favorite beers, researching her favorite cocktails, researching different spirits, and just learning what she enjoys that has fewer calories. Okay. And that's totally appropriate. That's keeping her, in accordance with her goals. Okay. And so don't allow alcohol to be that sneaky little source of calories that frustrates you because you thought you were being so good with your food. You were just consuming too many calories via alcohol. Okay. And so that's it. Number 15, be mindful of alcohol consumption. And then number 16, and this one is big, perhaps the most important for your overall well-being. Number 16, pause for dramatic effect. Enjoy yourself. Okay. And I mean that. Okay. Remember to enjoy yourself during the holidays. Okay. A few joyously indulgent meals will not make or break your progress. Okay. As I said at the top, look, the holidays is 3 or 4 meals. It really is. Like, come on, can we stop kidding ourselves, America? The holidays, quote unquote, just the holidays from now until mid-Jan. you're talking about 4 meals, okay? That can't undo 52 weeks of progress, all right? Remember, you don't all, and I would say this too, remember that you don't always have to be losing fat or gaining muscle intently. You can sometimes be maintaining your results. Again, if you've put 50 weeks behind you, 48 weeks, 46 weeks, a couple weeks even, let alone just a couple meals, is not going to undo 48 weeks of progress or 48 weeks of, again, just sustainable health process, right? And so sometimes the best thing you can do is just simply allow yourself to have some of those meals within reason, of course, and don't turn 3 or 4 meals into 3 or 4 months, right? But enjoy yourself. It's the holidays. It's a time to truly appreciate what so much of food actually is. It's so much about fellowship. It's so much about being with other people. It's so much about enjoying conversation. It's so much about just community with those that you love. And so the 16th and the final nutrition tip is to just simply enjoy yourself. But go all the way back to number 1. If your goal is to make progress, enjoy yourself and continue making progress. If your goal is to maintain, enjoy yourself and continue to maintain. If your goal is to be okay with a bit of regression, enjoy yourself. There's no guilt, there's no shame, there's no condemnation on the other side of that. If you've stated your goal, you've made a plan, you've executed that plan, okay? So with that, that is what I present to you as the 16 practical nutrition tips for the holidays. I hope that is helpful. And I should end by saying this. I should have said this at the top. Don't think you have to do all 16. Don't let this overwhelm you, okay? Try 1 or 2, play around with them, try them at different times, try them in different settings, see what resonates the most, see what works with you. For some people, it's just, man, if I do the water and I eat before I go to a party, that changes the entire landscape of the holidays. I've seen that 2 or 3 of these implemented well is better than not implementing all 16, okay? Or trying to do all 16 and inevitably failing because I can't do all 16 at once. And so that's just going to frustrate you and demotivate you. And so all that's to say is try a couple, see what works, try them out, think about it ahead of time, plan for it. And of course, if you have any questions, reach out to us. You can always lean on us for help as we head into the holidays. You can get a hold of us through our website, imagonutrition.com/contact. Reach out anytime, see if we can help you with your goals this holiday season. Okay. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, if you don't mind, if you would like to leave a review, that would be super helpful for us. It helps other people find this content. Speaking of which, if you've got some friends, you've got your holiday people, you've got your party folks that you like to hang out with during the holiday season. If this is helpful for you, if it's helpful for them, we'd love it, of course, if you share this episode. If you are on social media, you can follow our accounts. We are at Imago Nutrition. That's IMAGO Nutrition across social media platforms. I'm starting to get a little more active with our social media on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and we're doing all the reels and we're doing all the thingies. And so if you're a social media type, you can follow us on social media at Imago Nutrition. And as always, we would like to thank Happy Pill for our theme song, Thinkin Bout Food, because on the Imago Nutrition podcast, we're always thinking about food.